So, I have a question. Where are my groupies? Who's been here before? Awesome. And where are the newbies? Raise your hand, don't be shy. Wow. Well, welcome. I don't know how you're finding us, but that's awesome. So, groupies, you're going to have to show the newbies the ropes. All right, you ready? All right. Turn to your neighbor to your right and say, "We're going to learn a lot today." Very good, very good. You followed direction really well. Now turn to your left and say, "It's about time." Awesome, awesome. If you can tell, I like to be a little silly once in a while because why not? Life is short. So I'm Dayna Wilson, and I'm a seniors real estate specialist with Keller Williams Realty here in the East Bay. I'm your host and moderator, typically standing over there with a panel of experts. Well, guess what? I'm also your speaker today. So you're stuck with me for the remainder of the time. Hopefully it'll be worth your time. Just real quickly so you know who the heck I am. I grew up in La Miranda, graduated from Cal. I'm still here. Yay, go Bears! A while back, I earned my security licenses, 7 and 63, and I was helping people access institutional grade commercial properties nationwide, structured for co-ownership. Well, if you all recall the lovely market tank in 2008, I soon decided maybe it was time to make a change, and I dipped my toe into the residential arena, and I never looked back. I loved the variety, I love the complexity. It's a really wonderful career, but I did decide early on that I was working with more and more people over 65, and I noticed that they often needed a little bit more help, a little bit more patience, a little bit more time, and I almost liken those clients to some of my first-time homebuyers. So if you're a first-time homebuyer, think way back when you were a first-time homebuyer and how you felt. So when I meet these folks, they're usually cute little, newly married people. Their eyes are as big as saucers, and they don't know what's going on, and they said, "Help us, we've never done this before, hold our hand, and just help us through this whole process." So my sweet seniors, their eyes are as big as saucers. Maybe they haven't sold a home for decades. Maybe the last time they sold their home, it was a corporate relocation move, and the company did all the packing and moving, and they really didn't have to do a lot of the work, physical. It was all taken care of for them. And so I find that they also tend to say, "Dayna, I just really need help. I need help," and we're there to help them from A to Z. So, again, after working with a lot of older homeowners and their families and caregivers, I came to realize that at some point, the home can become a physical or emotional or financial burden. The upkeep just becomes too much. I mean, my husband and I are in our 60s, and we too are facing and wanting to be proactive and do a downsizing move. And so we're trying to decide what is going to be a good fit for us, because I've launched my kids, they're out of the nest, and we don't use a lot of the rooms in our house. We don't need all of that space. So we could do some fun things with the extra money we might get if we downsized right now. So because I saw an additional need for education, I really sought that out. I wanted to help my boomers, zoomers, and savvy seniors at the highest level and in the ways that they needed help. So for years now, I've coached with Dr. Nikki Buckaloo with the Seniors Real Estate Institute in Oklahoma. And I also have earned, through the National Association of Realtors, the Seniors Real Estate Specialist designation. So that's all just to say that I do have extensive training as well as experience to facilitate this whole moving process. And I just want you to feel comfortable and confident that collectively my team and I, will be true advocates for our clients. And other seniors real estate specialists hopefully will have this same heart for serving their clients at the highest level. But today we're here to talk about something that I hope will bring you a little peace of mind, which is a process called the 5 Easy Steps to a Successful Move. And I encourage you to kind of open your mind today. Maybe you'll hear some new ideas, hear about some new resources you may not have thought of before or have thought of using before. And hopefully, I might validate some things that you already know. This is a smart bunch of people right here. And so I bet you've already been doing some of the research and been doing some of your homework. And part of that process is coming today. So congratulations and pat yourselves on the back. So the question today is, why downsize? Why are we even talking about this? Why move at all? How many of you, when you think about moving, do you think it's going to be easy? No. Well, it can be easier, and wouldn't easier be better, right? So why move? The point is, we see there's a lot of reasons that our clients move. And studies have shown that seniors that stay actively engaged, socially, intellectually, within community, they live longer, they live healthier, they have less doctor appointments, less hospitalizations, and more satisfying lives. So it's been proven time and time again, when you talk to people that are active, maybe they're volunteering like John, I don't know where John is, and staying really active in the community. Maybe they're involved with the La Miranda village, or their church, or taking classes, or coaching, or all the wonderful things that all of you do. People can be 85, 95, and 103, and if they're staying active, they're engaged, and they tell us they're much happier. So sometimes when that maintenance become unmanageable, or the expenses are kind of overwhelming right now, doesn't fit your current lifestyle, it essentially becomes a burden, and the burden can create stress. And stress can create some overwhelm. So we're here today to talk about ways that we can leave you overjoyed, not overwhelmed. So sometimes by living somewhere that's a little bit more maintenance-free, it frees up your time and energy to do the things that you love, the things that bring you joy. Maybe it's traveling. Maybe it is volunteering. Maybe it's spending more time with your grandkids. Some people once in a while tell me, no, I like fixing the leaking toilet, or I like propping up the fence that's fallen over. But most of my clients say, no, we've been there, done that, we're over that. We're going to let someone else handle that from now on. So to simplify your life is really going to add benefit to your overall life. And so when a community, like a senior living community, for instance, offers meals, transportation, social activities that you might be interested in. They might do your laundry, housekeeping. People find that their energy increases. They have decreased illnesses, and they are staying more engaged. I've had clients say, well, we're fine for now. We have a 1-story home. And I met this really lovely lady. She did have a lovely 1-story home. And she said, so I'm not quite sure why my kids wanted you to come talk to me today. Do you ever get that, your kids? Mom, I think it's time for you to move. Dad, I think the house is too much work, right? So it's the kids that said, no, we really want you to meet with Dayna. So I went out there and I said, well, tell me how you're doing. Tell me about your home. Tell me about your life. And we sat there and had some tea. And, she loves her yard. She loves her roses. And she really finally, it took a lot of prodding. She finally opened up and said, I am lonely. And my kids are busy. Her one daughter travels internationally. and she's sort of estranged from her son. And she said, sometimes I'm so lonely, I think I might be depressed. And she says she takes long naps on the couch, and she doesn't see many people. And then she started to cry. So the home physically was working for her, but emotionally and socially it was not. It's gonna make me cry. So sometimes it's just doing this homework, and this is internal homework, about what do you want your life to be like? What do you want it to look like? And this first step is probably the step that you should spend the most time with, right? So we're going to cover the downsizing steps. Step 1 is creating your plan. Some of you have heard this before, and maybe it's just now starting to sink in. Some of us have to hear something over and over again, and we're in different places in our lives at different times where sometimes you hear something and it just doesn't resonate, and then you hear it the next time, and wow, you didn't think about that the first time. So creating a plan, we're going to communicate with our friends and family. Step 3 is surrounding yourself with professionals. Step 4 is dealing with a house full of possessions. And then step 5 is celebrating your new lifestyle. And we're going to take some questions at the end as well. So write down those questions. I want to make sure you leave at least with answers, or if it's something that we really need to take offline, we can certainly set up a time later on to talk on the phone or meet or have coffee or whatever. So step 1 is creating that plan. What are your future needs going to look like? What would happen if? So you may not plan on moving ever, and that's great. That's awesome. Or you may be thinking, well, probably down the road we might move, but it might not be for months or maybe even years, and that's fine too. But what I'm going to ask you to do, again, opening your mind, is to begin to think about it. Because we don't choose to have a fire in our house. We don't plan on having an earthquake day after tomorrow at 12:05. I mean, we can't control those things. But when we grew up in school, who remembers the earthquake and the fire drills? I mean, I do. Duck and roll or something under your chairs or desks or what have you. But we had a plan in case an emergency happened. And so the question for step 1 is, what if? So do you want to be the ones making the decisions for yourselves, or do you want someone else to make them for you? And I don't know about you, but I don't like to be told what to do. I've always been a little sassy that way. So if you want to be the one making your plan and making sure that everyone is going to follow your plan, well, first you have to put a plan in place. There's got to be a plan, right? So how many of you have kids that think you should move? Anybody? Nobody? 2 people's kids think they should move. All right, well, that's pretty good. I think the rest of you might not be telling me the truth. Just saying. So let's talk about the options. There's a plethora of options out there, and sometimes it's too complicated because there's too much information. So we will talk about in later seminars this year staying put, and we actually talked about that last month at length as well. Staying put. So that first phase of, okay, we want to stay in our home as long as possible, and then we'll maybe have our what if plan to fall back on, right? But now, today is more about those 5 steps to a successful move. That's why you're here. That's the topic. So what are some of the retirement community options that you have? I'm going to be really brief on this because we will have other seminars later this year where we're going to just, in one seminar, we'll have a big old panel of all sorts of wonderful people from different assisted livings. And they're going to talk about what assisted living is and what it is not. We're going to have a field trip later this year, and we're all going to meet in Rossmore in July. And we're going to learn what Rossmore has to offer. And then we'll set up some personal little tours maybe a few days after that for a handful of people that are really wanting to look further sooner. But each community has its own style, shapes, types, sizes, different amenities, different apartment sizes. They have their own personality and their own service menu, if you will. So here are some of the basics. We're just going to talk about the basics. Independent living. I mean, it is what it says it is, right? It's independent. They're typically apartments, mostly month to month. You do need to qualify to live there. You have to be independent to live there and be able to take care of yourself. These communities frequently do offer meals on site, and you can take part in those, but they usually also have a kitchen as well. You have a parking space to come and go. Some are covered, some are open, some are an underground parking garage. Most of them have transportation for those of you that don't drive, or it just makes it convenient to pop over to your doctor or CVS or grab something at Safeway. So you have your own keys, you come and go and you lock your door. You don't have to ask anyone for permission. You're just living your life. And if you plan to go on an extended trip, they may want to know so that they know you're safe and they're keeping an eye on things, just as you would let your neighbors know when you go on a vacation to watch your home, right? Assisted living is kind of the next level of care. You hear about assisted living where one needs a little bit of help, that you'll hear these acronyms ADL. So ADL is activities of daily living. So that's when folks, maybe one or both spouses, might start needing a little care with things like bathing, dressing, medication management, things of that nature. And there's no ongoing medical care per se, but you still have your own privacy, you still have your own independence, you can come and go as you want. They typically have more amenities in terms of meals on site, bistros that you can go grab a sandwich if you're hungry in between meals. And they tend to have, some of them, some medical personnel on site at certain times. Skilled care is what we used to call nursing homes. It's called, you'll hear the acronym SNF, S-N-F, which is a skilled nursing facility. But this is beyond assisted. This is for people that need ongoing or around-the-clock care, medical care, for instance. It's not age restricted at all. So some people will be there maybe even rehabbing from a surgery, you'll see. Maybe some of us have already visited some of these places after getting a new hip or a knee or what have you. People can come and go out of your room. The door remains open during the day as opposed to a private suite or an apartment. Now, continuing care retirement communities or life plan communities. So you'll hear the acronym CCRC. I had someone on the eval, I don't know if you're here, say, no more acronyms. But, the world is full of acronyms. So continuing care retirement communities or life plan communities, they typically have all levels of care on one campus. They may have independent, assisted, and skilled nursing. In today's world, they are including more and more a memory care area for people that have some form of dementia or need a little bit more supervision. These often require a sizable upfront fee. These are not typically a month-to-month lease. But the benefit to those looking for a campus like that is you start out as an independent, and you must be independent. And it's my understanding, and if there's all my wonderful education partners, you agree with me or not, that it's my understanding that with life plan as well as assisted, there is a physical, a doctor's, right, visit that must occur, et cetera. But with life plan, you really do need to move in independently, just like back at the independent option. So you're getting around well, your health is good, but if your health declines and you need more support, you don't need to move to another retirement community, right? It's all on that same campus. But I will say the different campuses offer different things, where the assisted living, to me, tends to be more on the same playing field, offering the same things, give or take. life plan communities are all over the board. So I just want you to really be careful. If you want to read those contracts, read the small print. Typically you get back, and it's all different, but typically if you move, you're going to get back 75 or 80% of that initial investment. And those investment fees could be $400 to $2 million. But if let's say your spouse needs a little bit more supervision and you don't, your spouse can live in one part of the community and you in another. So one thing to bring up when you're making your plans, I hear a lot of people say, I don't want to move to a retirement community. They're full of old people. I hear that a lot. A bunch of old people, and I'm not old. Well, I agree with that statement. We're only as old as we feel, right? And I think most of us think we're a lot younger than we are. I think I'm a lot younger until I look in the mirror, and then that goes out the window. But I'm going to say this with caution, that if you are absolutely active and independent and just rocking it, you're rocking and rolling and enjoying life, things are going great, you may decide to wait to put the plan in place. And I'm here to ask you to maybe think otherwise. So that's fine, but if at some point something happens, like my mom, I was sharing with some friends out there that my mom was doing fine, living in her own home in Moraga. And she woke up one day and said, I don't feel right, and she had had a stroke. Well, we didn't plan that she was going to have a stroke, and her life and our lives have changed since then. And so now her options have gone from this to this. And so, you may no longer, I can't talk much, you may no longer qualify for independent living, is the point of that. So you may move in, but they may have to tell you that they're sorry due to your health conditions. They may no longer be able to accommodate you. So again, think ahead. Don't stress about it, but think about what might be right for you. And in my workbook here, there are a number of questions. I'm not going to go over all of them, but I think it's really helpful to be kind of thinking about things to think about before you move. Where do I want to be? Do I want to be close to family, friends, doctors, church? What type of activities do I want to be involved in, and will I be close to that? Will I need transportation? Maybe I don't now, but do I want that available if I do? Will they take my pets, right? All sorts of things. Where do I park my car? What if we have 2 cars? So some of those questions, where do you stand financially? How much would you earn from an estate sale? What types of expenses might you have once you move in? And then what do you need to do to prepare for your move, right? House-wise, stuff-wise. And then a housing checklist also is another good thing to have too. So when you're touring, you're asking them the questions that are important to you. So you want to make sure that it's a good fit for you. So obviously another option is more what my husband and I are thinking about, which is the condos, townhomes, or adult communities like our Rossmore, right? That's the closest one to us. Maintenance-free living options, but you do have to march to the drummer of their HOA. And as you know, Rossmore has 22 of them. But you don't, like I've had other clients, I had one, Susie and Jim, they sold their home in Pleasant Hill, and it was quite a substantial backyard. And their whole thing in life is going on cruises. I'm not kidding. They go on 4 or 5 cruises a year. They are cruisers. And so they just wanted something more simple. Jim was still getting up on the roof, cleaning the gutters, growing grapevines in his backyard to make wine. He had a huge equipment in his big 3-car garage with lathes. He made, this is very unusual, he made custom pool cues. That's a very unique little niche there. Anyway, we found them a one-level duet, very small front yard, very small backyard, no steps, no HOA, which is really unusual. And they're just cruising out into the sunset, at least 4 times a year still. So that was a really good move for them. So, condos, townhomes, people always think townhomes are 2 levels. They're not. There's a lot of great townhomes in this greater area that are 1 level. Some of them have patios, some of them have decks, some of them actually have pretty good-sized backyards. Some of them are going to have attached garages, some won't. So again, think about, gosh, do we need a garage? Do we not need a garage? Do we want to pay HOAs? Do we not? Et cetera, et cetera. Now, if you're going to buy something like a Rossmore or a condo or a townhome, don't forget that financially you could use a reverse mortgage to purchase that and not have a house payment. So that's a financial option that some people are utilizing as a tool so that they can take the rest of the money, either keep it in the bank or reinvest it or whatever they need it for, right? Okay, so we're gonna move on to step number 2, which is you've got your what-if plan. Okay. What do you do with it? It should not just go in your drawer. You need to share it. You need to share it with your family and your friends. I'll tell you that some of the best moves that we have assisting our clients is where the family is involved. When mom and dad have talked to their kids, they've worked together as a team to make it happen. Now, I'm not saying you're asking for their permission or their blessing. No, no, no. You are the captain of your own ship. You are really asking more for their support after you share your intentions of what you have chosen for yourself. So not their approval necessarily, but to say, you know what, Dad and I have toured these properties, or I went out with my best friend, Kathy, and we looked at some of these places, and I've decided that my favorite one is this, but if that's not available, then these 2 would be my second and third choices. And if for some reason I can't make my own choices or make my own decisions at some point, these 3 might be my backup. Right? So if somebody else starts having to make decisions for you, you want to back up. If you can't move to the one that would be more independent, for instance. So I'm working with this wonderful couple, and they have been coming to these seminars for years. But due to health issues, they can no longer get out. They're not driving. And so they are moving to an assisted living in Walnut Creek. They've lived in their home off of Red Gear, I think they said 48 years or something. And I said, well, do you have kids locally? Well, they have one son that literally lives next door over the garage. But their other 7 kids live around the United States and the world. And so they asked if I could have a family meeting with them. And I thought, well, how are we going to do this? Anyway, we did a Zoom meeting, and I got to meet all 8 kids and their spouses, and they were able to have a really open, honest communication time with their parents, and the parents were there to tell them what their decisions were. So not all of them had really heard the final decisions that mom and dad had made, and it was great. It was really great. So everybody was on the same page. But, there was a study. They did a study, and I've shared this with you before, but I just think it's unbelievable. 90% of folks ages 45 to 60 were asked if they knew what their parents' wishes were. Well, no, I'm sorry. I don't remember. There was hundreds of people asked. 90% of them said they knew what their parents wanted. But when they interviewed the parents, 80% of that 90% were wrong. So the kids had been assuming and thought they knew what mom and or dad would want, but they didn't. So no one can read another's minds, right? You know, they say that's a killer for any relationship, but not even in close families. As much as you know your parents or your kids, you cannot read your mind. So we tend to make up stories about what we think they need or want. But I'm going to just recommend that once you have clarity on what you want to have in your what if plan, that you know where you want to move, when you want to move, how you want to move, who you want to have help you, then you got to let your family know. And maybe you don't have kids, or maybe you're estranged from your kids. You know, let your trusted advisors know. Go over this with your financial advisor, your accountant, your CPA, your best friend that brings you soup when you have the flu. You know, your neighbor, whoever you trust, your trusted circle, right? So even in this workbook, we give ideas on how to have a family meeting and what to include in that. And then even to list for them all of the contact names and numbers of the people that you want to be involved in your move so that the kids are on the same page. I think that's really, really helpful. And adult children have told me that's been really helpful for them to support their parents as well. So you could say, for instance, honey, I just wanted to let you know, again, that your father and I have been doing some research. We toured these 3 to 4 communities, and we're planning to move in the next 6 to 9 months. And we really liked, you know, XYZ community. So we just wanted to let you know, what do you think of the idea, right? You're not asking, what do you think of the idea? You're saying we want your support. So do your homework, spend some time, and share your thoughts with your circle. Here's part of that sample letter to family and friends. We'd like to make everyone aware that we're considering a move. After doing research, we've identified some communities, and then the letter goes on. So step 3 is surrounding yourself with qualified professionals. So you can see all these different people that could possibly be involved in your move. I could have had 32 people on this panel today, but we would have been here for days. So I just want to say that, you know, who should you call first? Okay, so this sort of sounds like a selfish plug, but probably your seniors real estate specialist, whoever it is you decide to work with, because they're the expert in the senior real estate realm. Your realtor has built a team of vetted, trusted local experts. I mean, I have a team of people that I work with all the time that I know have hearts for working with seniors, have the patience for working with the families, will communicate well. And part of this is your realtor being that hub of all the different moving parts and parties and coming up with the game plan and the timeline. And certain things have to happen before the next and the next and the next. And you know, it can get really stressful if there's too many cooks in the kitchen and too many balls in the air. So, you know, you may be reaching out and moving to or working with a move manager or an organizer or an estate liquidator. You may be having an estate sale. You may have to hire a hauler. You may have landscape people out back hacking down a tree that's hanging over your house. Or you know, you may be needing to talk to your financial advisor, CPA kind of people to make sure that those ducks are in a row. You may need to review your documentation. And this happens time and time again where people think their trust says one thing and it actually says another. I met with a cute couple and their adult daughter who was visiting from the UK last Wednesday night. And she was just assuming that she could do all the paperwork for mom and dad because she has power of attorney. That's absolutely not the case. The trustees are still mom and dad. The home is owned by the trust. And so the trust trumps power of attorney, right, Jonathan? Did he leave? Oh, okay. Our attorney left. So some of those things, you definitely want to get straight and organized well before you put your home on the market. So, as you can see, stagers, organizers, inspectors, appraisers, having connections with the senior living communities, talking to a transition manager. There's a lot of people that are here to support you. So if you feel like you have to go this alone, you can see very clearly that you do not. There are so many wonderful, big-hearted professionals that are here to help and support you through this. You do not need to go this alone. Even if you're a kind of a do-it-yourselfer, there's a client that I am working with. She's 82. She lives on 35 acres. She wants to do everything herself. Clean out the barn, deal with the broken pump. It's insane. But she's getting tired, but that's her personality. So we can only help if people want the help. But there's no reason to have a move make you ill. You shouldn't have to hurt your back. You shouldn't have to be more stressed. Now, moving is stressful at any age. I mean, let's just be real. It's a big deal, right? Like marriage and having children and death and divorce. And I mean, moving is one of those big life events. But again, it can be made easier. So I will say that, we've got a ton of different service providers, but we don't have a laundry list of people we can just hand to people because it depends what it is. So if somebody wanted to do an estate sale, we have estate sale people that will do it on site if you have enough to do one. We have estate sale people that will take it away and combine it with another estate sale. We have some that will take it away, put it in their warehouse, and they have a warehouse sale twice a year. We have an estate sale guy that only deals with heavy equipment and tools and, backhoes and tractors and stuff. So you can see it kind of depends what those things are that you want to get rid of. And we're going to talk about that in step 4. So the neat thing about this is, yes, you've got qualified professionals that are going to surround you with their support, but you are still staying as the decision maker, right? You're calling all the shots. And your realtor acts as your advisor, your guide, your consultant, and organizes all these people for you. And I like to make sure that I'm the one calling these people and saying, hey, Joe, we need your help over at 123 Main Street, because I want to make sure that they know I referred them and that they're going to take really, really good care of my clients. And sometimes because I do so much work with some of these people, you get a little bit of a discount. So that's always a good thing too. So let's just talk about the big elephant in the room. Your stuff. Can we just be honest and say we all have too much stuff? We just do. I just don't know how that happens, but even when you clear out a drawer, it gets refilled with stuff. I don't know what happens there, but it's the little stuff gremlins. So this is the biggest challenge most of us have. Sometimes I'll meet with people and they'll say, we want to move. We actually think we pretty much need to move, but we can never move because we've lived here for 60 years and we have my stuff, we have my mother's stuff, we have my great aunt's stuff. My husband has a garage full of tools. We got stuff out in the back. We could never move. And who knows what's up in the attic. So I met with a great family. This was a few years ago. She she started to need to be in a wheelchair, and she was sleeping downstairs. He was sleeping upstairs. He was 92. She was 87. One daughter lived in Walnut Creek. One daughter lived in Vegas. And that's exactly what that lady said to me. She said, I think we need to move, but we could never move. She used to be a concert pianist. They had a huge grand piano in the living room that she really hadn't been playing for quite a few years. And they were just completely overwhelmed. And he, at 92, was caring for her full-time by himself. The daughter that lived in Vegas actually was much more involved than the daughter that lived in Walnut Creek. The daughter in Walnut Creek had a lot of kids and was running to soccer and worked, and they just didn't have a real good dynamic between the two of them. So I said, well, I'll tell you what, let's do this. Because they'd already chosen where they were moving to. I said, let's do this. Why don't we have the move manager come and help you go through just one room? We'll just go through one room and go through those drawers and go through the closet. And at the end of those 2 days, you tell me if that was helpful or not. You tell me if you feel that that would be the support that could help you kind of get through all your stuff. Well, okay. So the move manager showed up. They went drawer by drawer. They went through the closet. And when I visited with them 3 days later, I said, well, what do you think? Oh my gosh, they were amazing. And now I can see that this is going to work. And thank you so much. And, the husband saying, thank you so much. Because he was more of the thrower-awayer, and she was more of the keeper. We've got those in couples sometimes, the yin and the yang involved. So that's what helped them get from point A to point B without further stress and angst. And it was a great help. So, this is a big challenge, and it doesn't matter when you move or where you're moving, really. It's just cumbersome thing. So we can do a few things. First of all, you can start on your own. However, I'm just saying, from my experience, I've met with people and they say, oh, no, we're going to downsize. Just give us the next 6 months and we're going to downsize. Okay. What do you think happens when I go back 6 months later? Nothing's gone. It's all still there. Because it's just like, where do you start? It's too much. Maybe you did the what's it drawer, but now it's filled up again. So the idea, if you're downsizing, is you're moving to a smaller place, and you typically can't take all your goodies with you. So there are things that you can do. You can get all the pretty colored Post-it notes. When you know where you're moving to, it certainly helps a lot better, right? Because then you might have your measurements, you might have a floor plan, you might know that, as much as we love that buffet, it's not going to fit. It's just 2 inches too long, and the door won't be able to open if we bring that buffet. So part of that is just space planning, figuring out what you need, what you want, what brings you joy. And so, up on the screen, it kind of goes through some of the sorting 101 that you could possibly start working on yourself if you so choose. So the necessities, right? You've got to have your toiletries. You've got to have something to eat with. You have to have clothes on your back. And you have to have a bed and probably your comfy couch or chair or what have you. And some artwork, your favorite artwork on the walls. Family heirlooms. So if you're thinking, okay, we're going to be moving soon, this is a great time to kind of talk to the family, talk to the kids, and say, you know what, do you want this? Are you interested in this? Jewelry, dishes, furnishings. Do not be offended if they don't want it. And I know you've heard this before at these seminars, that your kids don't want your things, and they're probably not worth what you think. Ooh. But it is true, and they have their own stuff, right? And then, things look different. I mean, I have some beautiful furniture that I love. And I was talking to one of my auction galleries, and I said, so what am I going to do with that stuff? And he says, nobody wants that big, gorgeous, big furniture anymore. They don't? No, they want the mid-century, clean lines. So the point is, trends come and go in clothing and in furniture. And So then what are we going to do with it? If we can't bring it with us, we want to try to keep it out of the landfill, right? And some of us want to know that somebody else is using our things. So sentimental items, keepsakes, you can bring some of this with you. You can, I don't recommend this, but some people, when they really have to move quickly and they don't have time to go through all of the paperwork or the things, sometimes they get a little baby storage unit. I just don't recommend that. Because again, it's sort of like the other story. When you ask 2 or 3 years later, so have you been going back and forth to the storage unit? Nope, haven't been there since we put the stuff in there. So there'll be charitable donations. There'll be things to be hauled away. Now, who can help you with all this? So you can do an estate sale if you have enough things to do an estate sale. And next month, we're going to dig into the stuff. Next month is all about getting rid of your stuff. So we're going to have experts talking about that. But this is just a step that we have to talk about, right? Because it's the big elephant in the room, our stuff. Estate sales are great, though, because they're not like a garage sale. A garage sale is you're doing all the tagging, you're organizing the things, you're having to come up with the pricing, and you're going to get looky-loos that want to come and buy a piece of furniture for $10. And here you think it's worth $300. You know, they want to come and buy a book for 5 cents. You're not going to make a lot of money, but what's even worse is the things that they don't want, you're still stuck with a garage full of stuff. And you still have to get rid of it. So in a professional estate sale company, they have a database, they do the marketing, they have security. They will ask you, and typically you've moved out of your home first, they're going to ask you to just take the things you want and not touch anything else. Leave your china in your china cabinet. Leave your closets full of the clothes you didn't want. Leave the kitchen cabinets full of the things you didn't need. And they will come, tag, group, clean. So they'll bring out grandma's china, clean it up, and show it off. Sometimes they'll bring some things from another estate sale to your sale. So I did one in my neighborhood for a client that was moving. And they had a lot of really neat artwork and antiques, but the estate sale lady knows that jewelry is a draw, so she brought these 2 huge cases of jewelry to augment the sale. And that line was down the walkway and around the corner to get into the sale that morning. That's what you want, and that's probably not what you're going to get with the garage sale. Then the best part is, at the end of the sale, and granted, before the sale even happens, you've moved, you've taken your stuff. Then typically, and you have to work with your estate sale person, you have to read their contract, but typically they will do sort of a little pre-sale for family and friends. So if your family wants to come over and kind of see what you didn't want or wanted to keep, then they kind of have first dibs, you know what I mean? And they go through pockets, they open everything up. So I've had my estate sale lady say, you know, we found a diamond ring in an old, leather coat. Grandma's diamond ring, someone had put in the leather coat because they'd picked it up from getting it fixed at the jewelry store. But the best thing about an estate sale is what is not sold, they take care of it. So then they deal with the donations and the hauling, and they will broom sweep your home. So that then now we're left with the empty house and we're moving forward however we have just chosen to, as is, or then we start to do our little painting and touch up and things like that, and repairs. Okay, so not a small thing, but you can start small. You can start getting rid of things that you no longer need. All right, so we kind of talked about, people usually want to know, and again, we'll talk about this next month, what an estate sale person charges. And they're typically going to charge around here, like in Oklahoma, it's like 25, 30%. Here, it's more like 40, 45, 50%. You're not writing a check to them. They're selling your things and handing you the check. right? So they're getting, let's say 40% of the profit, you're getting 60% of the profit. Your things are sold, they're being enjoyed by somebody else, they didn't go to landfill. I had a client that just sold his really great place in Heather Farms. He had to pay to have someone come and haul his stuff away. So he didn't make any money, he had to pay to get rid of his stuff. So you can see it's much better to get a little check for something than have to pay someone to haul it off, right? And also a move manager. So a move manager is part of that process too, typically, unless your kids want to do that for you, which they can, or your friends, or you. But the move manager not only is helping you decide what you're taking with you, but getting you set up in your new home. They tend to also be able to, if you ask them, handle changing of utilities and services. They typically charge somewhere between $75 and $125 an hour, and you're going to get a team of people. They will also, depending on the company, ship things to your kids, right? I had Cute Cliff moved, and he was 91, but his one daughter wanted a lot of these beautiful pieces that they'd collected when they used to travel to Asia all the time. And so the move manager got those shipped safely to her, and then helped him get set up in his new place. So, okay. So hopefully that answers a lot of those questions there. But let's just go to step 5. And I think people don't necessarily always take the time to talk about this. So this is the step where you really need to give yourself a little patience and a little grace, because now you've made the move. And you should be really happy, right? You should be celebrating that move. I mean, I encourage you to celebrate your move. You did it, you're set up. But I will tell you, there are some people that make a move and they're miserable. And I will tell you, most of those people that tell us they're miserable are because they were not the one making the choices. They felt like their kids made them move, or my kids put me here. So they did not create a what-if plan, and they were not happy about it, but they moved because maybe for health purposes that it really is necessary for safety. But to celebrate your new life, part of it is just being aware of your feelings. Again, transitions are hard on anyone, and you're going to be in new surroundings with new people, maybe new routines. So just give yourself a little patience. Give yourself a few months. I know I've shared this before, but it was so cute. When I was doing a focus group at one of the Carltons, there was a table full of people that had moved there, and we sort of had a great mix of new people that had just moved there, people that had lived there for quite a while, singles, couples, and I said, tell me some things that I could share with people that are thinking of making a move. What would be the first thing you'd want them to know? If you knew then what you know now. The first thing they all said was, we should have done it earlier. But this one lady said, I'm going to be honest. This took me some getting used to. I used to come home, and I think I even shared this last month. She used to come home to her home when she worked and, take off her work clothes, put on her casuals, put on her baggy sweats, and sit in front of the TV and eat her TV dinner by herself. And now she only had a kitchenette, and she had to come down for meals. She was not used to that. And she said it was really kind of a hassle. She said, I had to keep my clothes on, had to keep my bra on, had to, put some lipstick on and look semi-presentable, comb my hair. And she said it just was odd. But she said after about 3 months, she said, I looked forward to coming down and seeing my friends. I looked forward to getting caught up at the end of the day and having that social time, because eating meals is a social event. And so I guess I tell you that just to say it may take some time to get used to. So, some people suggest you keep a journal. Or definitely, keep in touch with your best friends. Tell your friends and your family how things are going, how you're feeling. Make sure you keep that support group around you. Some people may want to talk to someone. I mean, there's nothing wrong with talking to a counselor or, just sharing your feelings so you don't feel like you're going crazy. Everyone's different. Everybody adjusts at a different speed. So that's just all really natural and normal. But now you will have more time, more energy to do the things you love. And so maybe now's the time when you kind of try out that new hobby. Like I've always wanted to try making stained glass things. I've never done it. I have no idea. I just know I want to try it. But I'm too busy right now. But someday I want to do that, darn it. I will be able to volunteer more when I'm not working someday. So whatever those things are, or, see your grandkids, go on that trip, do the things that are going to bring you joy. So here's some more ideas of making the adjustment a little easier. Just, again, stay active. Continue your physical activity, go out, go for those walks, take your dog for a walk, eat yummy foods. Now you have someone potentially, depending on where you moved, cooking your food every night, which would be lovely. Take a class or give a class. There's another gentleman, in fact, his wife is here. We will not name names, but I know when we were talking about if and when they ever move, what would he want to do? Because he's very wrapped up in what he does for a living, which a lot of us are. And we kept kind of peeling back the layers of the onions, and it turned out he was really interested in naval history. And I said, well, you could start a book club for guys, right? Wow, I guess I could. I mean, that, the little spark lit up there in his eyes. So, take some time to explore new things, learn to have fun and learn to learn again, I guess, would be some key points.